This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast.
Welcome to Finish Lines and Milestones, a podcast that celebrates the everyday runner. I'm your host, Allie Brettnacher. If you run, you are a runner, and every runner has a story. Join me each week as I share these stories, and we cross finish lines and celebrate milestones together. This episode is brought to you by Bitch Sticks. Bitch Sticks is a self-care brand that is also a call to action to transform a, quote, bad word into a force of good. Each year, they donate to nonprofit organizations around the country that support survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. All of their products are made with high-quality ingredients, are cruelty-free, and manufactured right here in the USA. If you are local to Indiana, know that they are an Indiana brand, but can also be found in over 5,000 stores nationwide. And of course, you can shop on their website. It is Bitch Sticks, which is STIX.com, and you can use code ALLYB, ALLYB, at checkout for 20% off your order. At our upcoming event before the Indy Mini here locally, Bitch Sticks is a sponsor. They will be adding their SPF 30 lip balm and their Quit Your Bitchin' Muscle Rub into our goodie bags. They are also giving away an Athlete Good Luck gift set that comes with a couple lip balms, a big Bitch Sticks with SPF 30, anti-chafe, and the Quit Your Bitchin' Muscle Rub as well. So stay tuned for that giveaway coming very soon. And if you haven't gotten tickets to that event, it's going to sell out. So make sure you go do that as well. Thank you, Bitch Sticks, for supporting this podcast and our event. Hello, and welcome to episode 101. This is Allie Brettnacher. And if you tuned in last week for episode 100, you would have heard me say, or seen me say, that I'm now doing video as part of this podcast. I am starting from the bottom. Really not sure what I'm doing, but apparently the rule is you have to have video if you have a podcast now. So here I am doing my best. I did get a new computer, which is going to be very helpful in the speed at which I can work. But I've decided that I'm not going to get ready and put on makeup for this because I just can't. And I know that you don't care. So it's cool. Here I am. And if you're not watching, you're probably better off for it, but we're doing video now. So here we go. In case you didn't already know, have launched ticket sales for an event that I am co-hosting with Lindsay Hine, who's the founder of Sandy Boy Productions and hosts the I'll Have Another podcast with Lindsay Hine, nearly at 600 episodes. Anyway, we launched our tickets a couple weeks ago. We are almost 3/4 of the way sold out. So we've sold 70 tickets or so. We only have 100 spots available. So if you're listening to this and you're local or you're coming in town for the Indianapolis Mini Marathon, make sure you check out the link in the show notes or in this video to get a ticket before they're gone, because they will be gone. This week, I was introduced to my new friend, Chris Slater, through a former coworker of mine, TJ Furman. I don't know if TJ will listen to this. I joke about that in the episode. But anyway, thank you, TJ, for connecting me with Chris, because he is insane and an absolute badass. And I loved getting to know Chris, albeit virtually, but hopefully at some point I'll either get over to London or have him come to Indiana, at least by way of Chicago. But first, I must say that during the episode, we talked about the geography of the United Kingdom. And I put him on the spot, and it was pretty funny. So I'm just going to state for the record, according to Wikipedia, that the United Kingdom is, let's see, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, which is an island nation in northwestern Europe. And then Kent, where Chris is from, is a county in England that has cities and villages and towns as part of it. And the county of Kent has almost 2 million people. So if you're in Indianapolis local, we have about 1 million people in Indianapolis and the surrounding areas. So it's a pretty big place. I was just trying to figure out where in the world Chris is from. So hopefully that gives you a better understanding. And you should Google it, because I really realized my European geography needs some help. But I love the fact that we're going a little global. I think Chris is maybe, I don't know, the second international guest I've had. I'm getting ready to interview someone from Australia here soon. So it's fun not only to tell local stories, even American stories, but now a few international stories as well. So I know that you're going to just be so impressed with Chris. Just wait till you hear about him running across the Sahara Desert. It's wild. Please enjoy my conversation with Chris Slater. Good evening, Chris. How's it going?
I'm all good, Ali.
Thanks so much for joining me after your workday on a Monday. So nice of you.
It's a nice end to the day, right?
Yeah, perfect. Like just end your day talking about running. Why not?
I know there's definitely worse ways to spend a Monday evening, put it that way.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And you will share with us some of those worst ways, I'm sure, during your story
Right.
today. Yeah. So I was connected to you by a mutual connection of ours, TJ Furman, who he might listen to this. I doubt it. And TJ, if you are listening to this, maybe just come run like 3 miles sometime. Okay, man. But I'm so glad that he connected us. Him and I met through the world of tech, which you and I were just talking about, is what I did before I started doing all things running. But you are over in London, correct?
Correct. Yeah, spot on.
Yeah. TJ gave me a hard time when I was like, okay, so for local people, I record at the library. And he's in the UK, dumbass. Okay, sorry.
I did see that when you sent over the brief, you said, yeah, you have an option to record in person. I was like, it might be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I might need to do that some other time. Although I said, you know what? I'm going to convince Chris to come to little old Indianapolis to run a personal best because this is where you do it. We're so flat as a pancake. You get that sub 3 here. You can. Anyway.
Yeah, well, if it doesn't happen, I'll hold you responsible.
Yeah, I'll feel bad about that if it doesn't, but thank you. And I have had a couple people on that aren't from the United States, which is really fun for me just to get to learn about running in other places. I have never done an international race. And when this comes out, a lot of people are gearing up for London. Are you running the London Marathon this year, Chris?
No, not this year. I've done it 3 times and it's amazing. So I'm very
3
jealous of people doing it.
times. Oh my gosh, people are going to be so jealous that you've done it 3 times. That's amazing.
It's an unbelievable race. Really good.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that towards the end. I want you to give people who are gonna run the London Marathon all the advice. And just being a local from London, what else people should think about when they come visit. So someday, hopefully I'll do that as well. But before we just dive into all of your crazy running races and your journey when it comes to running, I'd love to just get to know you and let people get to know you a little bit better.
Cool.
So if you want to take us back to growing up in London, what that's sports growing up, just all the things that you want to share to give people a sense of who you are.
Cool. No, thank you. So I grew up in the north of England. I lived there for 5 years and then eventually moved down to London with my parents due to their work. It's quite funny because in the north of England and the south, the accent is very different. In the north, it's very strong, and down south, it's what we call posh. So I lost my accent very quickly when I moved down here and started going to primary school. So whenever I go up to see family in the north, I can't really understand it very well, which I'm sure a lot of Americans relate to because it's obviously you have a massive country and the accents are very different from state to state.
Mm-hmm.
But growing up, my thing was always football. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved football. Yeah, I played for a professional academy between the ages of 8 and 16. So I got released at the point where I either left school to become a professional. I didn't get a contract. I went to a few other clubs to trial, and the ones that I was offered weren't really at the level that I was aspiring to. So I fell out of love with it, to be honest. I was under a lot of pressure playing. There's a lot of eyes on you when you're not doing it for fun, you're doing it to try and make a living out of it eventually.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely hated it. And it took me years of playing for my school and then playing with friends to start enjoying it again. But life in London is good. We live about an hour away. So
Okay.
in a county called Kent, it's very green. There's a lot of country roads, which are like perfect for running. It's quite quiet. And then an hour train into the chaos of London.
Into the chaos of London. So back to football growing up. You started a pro academy at age 8. What age were you when you started playing in general?
Great question. I couldn't actually tell you with accuracy.
You
Maybe
probably
like
don't remember.
6.
You probably just from playing since
No.
you can remember.
No, I remember I played a few years for a local team, maybe for 6 or 7, and I got scouted very quickly
Wow.
and then had to leave doing that. So I didn't play with any of my friends growing up. I wasn't allowed to.
That's so interesting. I don't even know what it means to be like in a pro academy. So are you getting paid in some way as a young kid to be a part of this?
So you get, I say you get, back then, I'm 32 now, so this was
Okay.
quite a while ago.
Okay.
So my parents used to get £4 a training session and a match day for me to contribute to the travel. Because that, I'll come on to that in a second, but yeah, I didn't get paid, but the parents get contribution for taking you, etc. And £4 isn't a lot, by the way. Like, it was hours of travel. So maybe
Yeah.
covers like 10% of the cost.
Yeah.
But they put in a lot of commitment for me. Like, it wasn't just I was the one playing and doing it, but they put in a hell of a lot of effort. So I'll always be grateful to them for doing that.
Do you have siblings?
No, only child.
Okay.
I'm always told I'm a very selfish only child by my friends.
Yeah. I can't imagine doing what you just barely described. Like you're scratching the surface of all that they did. I start to picture like hours of driving, like just all the things that they would do, doing that across multiple kids, which people do that here in the States. And I just don't, that's crazy to me. But that's really cool that you got to do that at a young age. So what did that look like? Did you play every single day?
No, so we trained Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday morning, and then had a game on a Sunday.
Yeah. Did you get on airplanes for tournaments?
No, well,
No.
I wasn't that cool. It was all
I was, yeah.
That was as good as glamorous as it got for us.
Yeah, but still, you're probably traveling all over the UK. And for people who aren't familiar, and for people like me who always need a refresher, can you give us the quick description of Great Britain versus UK?
You're asking the worst person possible.
Okay, so
In
if
the
you don't know
UK,
anything, then that makes me feel better. You're like, I don't know.
I don't think you should feel bad for not knowing that. So in the UK, we have Scotland, England, Wales, and I think it's the Republic of Ireland. Part of Ireland isn't in the UK, but I might be completely wrong.
Maybe I should just Google and make a separate thing. Be like, here's what's going on.
Yeah, don't trust
But I
me.
always get confused as an American saying like UK versus England because those are different. And for us, sometimes you kind of just lump that together. So that's why I ask.
Yes, I think the UK and Great Britain are the same. I think. But
See, okay.
England is our country. That's where I live.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So tons of football growing up. And you still played at an older age too. Did you play like what's that being able to do that at an older age? Did you play in like college too? Or what happened after you left that initial academy you mentioned?
Yeah. I'm sure we'll come on to this, but like when I went to university, which is our version of college, I didn't play at all because I started drinking, basically. I just started going out, having fun. Because when I was playing football up to 16, I never really, I missed out on the underage drinking and things like that.
Right.
So I was making up for lost ground. And then
yeah.
I think when I was 21, 22, maybe, I got back into it.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Becoming a college athlete, you have to forego the party scene as an athlete in college, for sure. Did you have an opportunity to do that at all, or you just decided I'm burnt out, I'm just going to go for the experience of university?
To be honest, I think I ended up going just because I didn't really know where life was heading. I didn't really want to go. I just kind of went because it was the thing to do.
Yeah, because you're supposed to.
Natural transition out. We call it sixth form, which is between 16 and 18. And then from sixth form at a secondary school, you then go to a university that you have to get the right grades for. But yeah, I ended up doing sports science because it felt like going down the career path I wanted, and I ended up doing something completely different. But I just stumbled my way through those ages, being really honest.
Yeah, that's fair. Did you have a drink at all before age 16? Did you ever get exposure to alcohol or anything else?
In the second half of my 16th year, yes, but not before I stopped playing football in an academy.
Okay. Yeah. I can relate in some ways. Like I drank in high school here. I probably had my first drink when I was like 15 or so. Sorry, mom and dad, although they know that at this point. But yeah, and then I went to school, and somehow, even though I partied a ton, I still managed to get decent grades. I really, looking back, not really sure how I did that. But I also felt like I went to Catholic school growing up, and my parents were fairly strict compared to some of my friends. And you get to college and all of a sudden you can do whatever you want. And yeah, certainly an environment for that. Where did you already say where you went to university?
I went to the University of Kent, so I stayed at home.
Okay.
So I didn't have the experience of living away and causing carnage. I literally only went for the seminars and lectures and classes, and I met some good mates there, and I ended up going out a few times. But I did a couple of jobs in and around there as well. So I actually made quite a lot of money whilst I was doing that.
Interesting.
But I didn't really try at university is the bottom line of it. I got a good grade, but not by hard work.
Yeah.
Just by
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I feel too. I lucked out there. What kind of jobs did you do to make a lot of money? That's great.
I did
During
two
college?
jobs. I did one I worked on building sites cleaning. So the team I worked with were all girls. So I did I did the hoovering. So I used to walk around building sites with a hoover and just used to get mugged off by all the big lads on there laying bricks and things like that. So they were just giving me loads of abuse.
Oh God. Yeah, that's
And
funny.
then the other job I did was I started a nightclub promotions business. with
Yeah,
one of my
yeah.
best friends. And we just hosted nights at nightclubs, and that was perfect. We were basically getting paid quite a bit of money at the time to go out partying. But in
Yeah.
hindsight, I don't think it helped where my life ended up going.
Sure. Yeah, I could see that. When I popped on your LinkedIn and I saw that business and I'm like, man, that's where the party scene. Yeah. And you have access to so much there, I'm sure, and having a blast
Yeah,
and trying to give other people a great experience. And that has to be a hard world to live in.
yeah. It's like life couldn't have been flipped on its head any more than what it was. Going from playing sport to just cause absolute carnage.
Yeah. Yeah. So would you do it at nightclubs like all over? And where were they? Was it in the city? Was it more in Kent? Are there areas I see? You're probably going to laugh because I have no idea, but
No, don't be silly. We did it in Kent, so London's very diverse in terms of there's some huge super clubs like Ibiza type house music.
yeah, yeah.
Then you've got some really swanky like New York type clubs where it's very exclusive,
Mm.
all of that kind of stuff. But in Kent, there's probably 3 or 4 really big towns where there's some popular clubs, and we just bolted on to the most popular one, and that's where we did it.
Okay. Yeah. So Kent's probably bigger than I'm imagining it to be.
It's not massive, not at all. No,
Okay.
I couldn't give you a scale, but it's tiny compared to some of the places in the US.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. I just didn't know. Like, I picture it almost like on the English countryside. When you say it's like green, I'm like, okay, so like it's out in the
No,
middle of
that's
nowhere,
right.
but it's not.
Yeah, that's right.
But there's clubs there, which blows my mind. But I guess if I think about where
Yeah,
I live in the suburbs, we still have pockets of like bars and restaurants up here. And so how long did you have that business for?
maybe 3 or 4 years.
Okay. And at what point did you go from, okay, like I'm partying and having a good time to like drugs?
$1 million question. It's very hard to answer. I think there
Because
was a
it's probably
slight.
a blur.
Yeah, no, it is. It was a transition from drinking to then experimenting with like weed, MDMA, and then eventually coke.
Yeah. I've never, it makes me, I feel like when I talk to people like you, Chris, I feel like such a prude, even though I did my fair share of partying. I've never seen cocaine, which is shocking, really, because Miami of Ohio, where I went to college in the United States, people probably surprised that I would say that. But yeah, I really only ever smoked pot and drank, and that's it. And so I feel somewhat naive when I talk to people who really got into the party scene and got into the world of hard drugs. I think part of the reason I never found it was because I knew that if I did, like I have a pretty addictive personality. So I think subconsciously maybe I stayed away, but I don't know. I am surprised I did.
You haven't missed out on much. You should count yourself as lucky because it's not a glamorous thing, and yeah,
Mm.
my life went down a path that I never would have thought it would.
Could you explain what that journey was like and how you ended up on that path? Was it primarily
Yeah,
because of your business? Because that's what the assumption I drew, but
I think it would have happened regardless. When you look back at certain things and how it happened, it would be quite easy to pin it on that. But personality type, I probably would have ended up there at some point or another. Just began quite as a social thing.
Mm.
So would just enjoy it at a weekend drinking, and then without giving you the whole life story and going into loads of detail, like that just spiraled over a number of years to going from social, then those socials become all weekend long, not really going home, after parties, around people's
Mm.
houses, getting carried away, and then ending up ultimately at home on your own doing it, which is really dark.
Yeah. And it's not a like inexpensive thing to do either. So were you able to afford it because you were making great money with the business? At what point did you end up in tech too, alongside this?
Yeah, when I was in the nightclub world, we could afford it easy because I didn't really have a lot of responsibility. So only literally earning like £300-400 cash a week from one night's work. And that was, none of that had to go out on bills and things like that. And I wasn't doing it as much. So I still had money left over. But then as I went into a proper career and you start at the bottom of a ladder and you're getting paid monthly, you start to take on your own bills. You start to build a life like any normal person coming out of university would.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was a massive transition of, I'd always been sensible with money and made sure I had some behind me, to just complete car crash and couldn't keep up with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I read in the article you shared with me, which I'll link, what was it, like 100 pounds a day?
So when I got really bad, probably doing about £200 a day, 5 days a week, probably.
Okay, that's so much money.
I was crippled, Alex,
Yeah.
completely crippled.
Did you owe money to people?
Here, there, and everywhere. Did some really stupid stuff like borrowing off friends, taking out loans from the bank. Not big amounts, by the way, like £1,000. But then when I couldn't get any more from the bank, maxing out credit cards for £3,000. Then when I couldn't get any more on my credit limit, I'd get payday loans, which, you know, you
Oh,
borrow
man.
£1,000 and you have to pay back nearly 2,000. It's crazy, like horrific.
Oh my gosh. And after university, did you live at your parents' house during that time? Like, at what point did you leave home and have a place, or did you? Or were you just then with friends or wherever you could stay?
Done a bit of everything. Like, I've lived at home, I've lived with friends, I've lived on my own. So I've had a bit of a mix and match, to be honest.
Yeah, it has to be so hard. I just try to put myself in that position where you have no money and you need to fuel this addiction. You probably are behind on everything at that point.
Yeah.
And so that already paints a picture for people listening where it's, okay, how the hell, Chris, are you now where you are now? So I know we don't have the time to really do it justice, because I know it's not a process that's very easy. But if you had to like share your story so that people could see how you ended up getting yourself out of that, please do. Because hopefully somebody's listening who could certainly benefit from that.
Yeah, I think I'll try and keep it as short as I can. I think I have reached a point where I don't want to say I didn't want to live, because I think that's a very strong statement. I think I didn't know how to live anymore. It's probably the best way I could describe it. I was in a vicious cycle of drugs running my life, and nothing else mattered. The minute that I woke up, I was stressed about who I had money to, how I was feeling. I hated myself, and determined never to do it again. And the things I was going to change to stop. And ultimately, as the day progressed, I ended up doing it again. And that would just repeat. I didn't view situations right externally. Completely changed who I was. You know, I'd always try and value having good morals and treating people how I wanted to be treated. And I'm never the type of go out and have a fight or anything like that. But I was manipulating situations to get what I wanted from it. I was being very selfish.
Yeah.
So all of that went on for a period of 3 or 4 years. And some things happened in my life where I had to admit to other people what was going on, those close to me, around my friends and family. And things just naturally came to a head. I ended up in hospital once, and that was the first time where I put my hands up and said, let's go and get help. And it took me 2 years from that point to go into rehab.
Wow.
I tried a lot of different stuff. I moved away. I managed to cut down how much I was doing it, but I kept relapsing, which was really fucking frustrating. It gets every 30 days, and I'd think you had 30 days off it, and I'd end up relapsing. Honestly, it was so painful. I had counselling, loads of different stuff. But in the end, I was being pushed to go to rehab by my parents and a few friends. And I put my hands up and said, I'll go. And it's really expensive. Like, I had no money, so it wasn't funded by me. And I went and did a month in rehab. And there's no light bulb switch that can be turned on with this kind of stuff. Just want to be really clear to that if anybody's out there struggling and listening to this. Rehab was good for me in terms of the fact I got to spend a lot of time with other addicts and other alcoholics, and realised that I wasn't actually alone in this. And we just sat around for a month We went to a clinic between 9 and 5 every day, got some serious help by people who are very experienced, and then spent all of the other time just hanging out and talking, like without our phones, no connection to the real world. It was a mad experience. And
Yeah.
that got me connected to what's called 12 steps of recovery, which is these Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, the things that people see on TV shows when they're sat around in a circle. It doesn't really work like that in every meeting, but it's that type of thing. So
Mhm.
you can access those anywhere in the world. You don't need to go to rehab to do that. That was just my journey and my story. When I came out of rehab, I got really bad for about a month. I wasn't in a great place. And then it all clicked together. And that was 3 years and 3 months ago since. So no drugs, no alcohol.
Wow.
So in a nutshell, that's it.
So you were an alcoholic as well?
And I can't, I
No.
don't, so I don't drink now.
Okay.
It's all treated the same. We call it mind altering substances.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah.
in the same category. If you get addicted to one, you're very likely, it's addicted personality.
Right,
I
exactly.
used to love
See that.
drinking, but I didn't wake up at 8 a.m. in the morning going for a drink. My thing was
Ugh.
cocaine, unfortunately.
Yeah. And your parents, I can't remember if you mentioned already what they did for work. I remember you said you moved from the north down to Kent for their work, but what did your parents do?
So my dad worked for Shell. So he used to go to sea and do the Morse code. Anybody that's seen film Titanic, where they in the control room hitting the beeper.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when I was born, he got an office job down in London, and my mum works for the NHS, which is like our National Health Service.
Okay. So it sounds like they had decent jobs. Did you take money from your parents when you were going through this?
So yeah, I borrowed money off them countless times, but I was lying about things, saying I needed it for
Right.
different reasons, which I'm not proud of. But I've had to be forgiven by them and forgive myself for that, because I know why it was happening.
How did your relationship with them evolve? Because I imagine I could picture like you lying and being like, hey, I need money for this and that. Maybe just explain at what point did they know there was really something wrong? Because if you're not always at home, they maybe didn't know what was really happening. At what point did they figure that out?
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a bit of a twat here, but my professional career's somehow progressed well, and I've always earned okay, and that's gone up as I've got older.
Mm-hmm.
So they, having knowledge of that, when I'm borrowing money on the third day of the month after being paid, yeah, once or twice okay, but when that keeps happening, that starts to raise questions.
Yeah.
When I would get asked about that, I would lie. I would get very defensive. I would push it back on them. You're an idiot for asking me.
Yeah.
You're out of order.
Man, yeah.
They're amazing people, right? So much love and admiration for them. They've been so supportive through everything I've done, whether it be recovery or running or playing football. We're in a completely different place now. Life's better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so hard. I also should have said at the beginning, there is no judgment at all here in this world, because it's like we've all had our own shit, and some of it hasn't maybe progressed as far. But like I said earlier, had I been around stuff, I could have seen this happening to me the same way. And I think in the technology world too, and I don't know if it's the same in London as it is here, but you're in sales, you're whining and dining everybody, you're partying, like you've got events you're going to, like, and yeah, you're making great money. And so I could see how that environment too is like really, you're definitely not alone there. Yeah. So this whole time you still had a normal job.
Yeah, I don't know how I managed to.
That is insane to me.
There was times where it was hard when I felt really hungover from drinking or using drugs, to turn up and go to work.
Yeah.
Pressure on you. I'm so grateful. My life's not like that today.
Yeah. Whew. Huge congratulations for over 3 years of sobriety. That's just huge. It's amazing.
Many more ahead. You just got to keep working hard.
Just keep running, man. You got it. Okay, so now it's probably a good time to start to segue into how the heck you ended up almost replacing one addiction for another. I feel like runners, a lot of us have addictive personalities where it's okay, at least this is healthy for the most part. Some of us overtrain at times, but how did you end up signing up for your first marathon? or run? I don't
My
know. Did you
first
start with a marathon or did you like do other stuff before that?
Yeah, I did during COVID, during lockdown. So I'd never run before. And I started running because we were only allowed out the house in the UK for an hour a day. So I need to do something. So I started running.
Wait, say that again?
So in the UK, our lockdown rules at the very start of COVID that we were only allowed out the house for 1 hour a day exercise. So
I'd
that's how
never
I
have
started.
heard that. I've never heard that. I did not know.
Yeah. I'm one of the people that didn't stick to that.
Okay.
Our government plan were horrific. So a lot of people didn't do
Yeah, I was going to say, like, how strict was that? Because that would be, holy cow.
Yeah. They could never police that. So,
Yeah, it'd be, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you started to get the heck out and run around.
Yeah. So I did a half marathon. I couldn't believe it. I think I did like half marathon in about 2 hours 15. Couldn't believe it. And a few weeks later, I was like, I've got to go for a full one.
And are you doing this virtually? Like a virtual half marathon?
No, just literally on my own. Just went out.
Yeah.
And
So that's, you're literally, there's not like an organized race, obviously, during lockdown. You're just out, did you map out a route?
I didn't really have enough experience. So now I know a lot of routes, and I know if I go this way, it will end up this amount. Whereas back then, there was a lot of times you run, and then you end up running around in a circle to make up the distance. So that was the story of the first half. I think I ended up just doing laps of a football pitch for about 10 minutes, just trying to get the distance.
That's funny. Yep. Okay. And so then, you're like, I did a half. Now do a full on your own.
Broke me. Yeah, went out at 5 a.m. one Saturday morning. Did the worst carb load ever. Just had one bowl of pasta. That was it, because I didn't know any different.
Yeah.
So just did everything off the TV, and then went out at 5 a.m. It took me about 4 hours 40, and man, I was in a lot of pain.
How did you, or did you like fuel? Did you have people help you at all? Like,
none at all. No.
Oh my
I didn't
gosh.
know what I was doing, Ali.
That's
No
crazy.
idea.
So like, what did you drink any water or eat anything while you ran?
Nothing. Absolute raw dog, everything. Just me, my phone, a pair of headphones, and a pair of gym shoes I'd had for about 10 years.
I was going to ask if you had any running shoes, because probably not if you'd never run before. Wow. That is so wild. How far apart? Do you remember?
What, from the half to the marathon?
Yeah.
2 weeks, maybe.
You're just like, I'm locked down, so I'm just going to run.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And so at what point in the UK did races start coming back to where you got to do your first like line up and do a race?
It was later that year, so I think that was 2021. So I did that marathon. I'm trying to remember. I think maybe I did a few on my own. Then I started doing virtual ones. I think I did the Great Wall of China virtual marathon. I did the New York marathon. I think I did a 50K, and then I went to rehab. So all of that was going on whilst my life was a complete car crash. I didn't know what was really going on. I was trying to get healthy through running, still in active addiction. Went to rehab.
Still in active addiction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that if I did math, then yeah, that makes sense. So were you like high while you were running then? You had to be.
I have been a few times. Yeah. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
honestly, like dangerous stuff.
Jeez, that is nuts.
Yeah.
And just to do that all on your own. Do you ever have anybody else run with you?
Yeah, a few times, but we had quite strict rules in the UK where I think if you got spotted with people, you had to be so far apart, and
So wild.
I didn't really care about any of that. There was, if you didn't want to set a bad example. But yeah, then just going back to your early point, so the races then reopened at the back end of 2021.
Yeah, okay.
No, I booked in, when I came out of rehab, I did Brighton, which is, we've got 3 or 4, not majors, but 3 or 4 big marathons in the UK. So I booked in for Brighton, London, and Manchester. And they were in the space of 4 weeks. So I ended up doing 3 and 4 weeks for charity. And I wasn't an athlete then. Like, I'm not saying I am now, but I've got a lot of experience now. I know
You're an
my body
athlete
very
now.
well.
Chris,
I'm not
please. Yeah, you are.
I take it very seriously. I take it very seriously now.
Yeah.
And I do all of the stuff I can to perform and train well. But back then it was so rogue. It was just like no training in between, marathon, couldn't walk for 3 days, no recovery, and
Yeah.
then go again. And I stumbled through them like doing 4.5, 4:45-hour marathons.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Wild.
And
It was
how
wild.
did you have the money to do it?
Because I wasn't using drugs then. And also like running seemed a lot cheaper then, right? Because I was doing them for charity, so you get the place a lot cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't as big into my performance as I am now. So like the running shoes, you just get a pair of like £100 pair, and they'll last forever.
Yeah.
You know, you just turn up in a training t-shirt, put your number on. You don't get. It's got to be done properly now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It didn't seem like the financial investment is it
It is
back
now,
then?
yeah. I can appreciate that. Yeah. I just picture certainly you obviously had a hole to dig yourself out of too. I've talked to other people who, like, whether it was their friends or family, supported them in, hey, I'll help you do this because you should do something like this for you as you're in recovery. So what charities did you run for?
I've done all of my charity fundraising for, they're called Get Kids Going. So it's a very small charity. They basically fund children with disability to play sport.
Oh, that's
There's
cool.
no personal story there, but I'll just be really honest. I stumbled on them because in the UK, we have big charities that you have to raise a lot of money to do these races for.
Mm-hmm.
And the smaller charities want a smaller commitment. So that's how I ended up doing it. And after I did that 3 and 4 weeks, I did some massive fundraisers for them and I got to know them quite well. And it was really cool. They were really nice people.
That's really awesome. And do you still, when you race today, do you still partner with them?
I don't. The last one I did was in 2022, which I did
Okay.
I did a marathon a week for a year. So 52 in 52 weeks.
What?
That was pretty crazy.
Chris. Okay. All right. 50. Okay. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. So how many of those did you do were like organized? I have a race number races versus I'm going out and running around at my route that I choose.
Four races. Out of
Okay.
50, the rest were on my own.
Wow. Okay. So did you pick would you do the same route every week or would you mix it up? Like, where would you run?
It was a bit of both. There's only so much. If I walk out the house now, I know like a big loop. It's quite hilly, but I know it like the back of my hand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I started. I think I maybe did the first 10 doing that. But there's only so much of that I could take. So I would start to drive places where it's a bit flat,
Right.
you know, give myself
Yeah.
a bit of respite. And then, did 4 races throughout the year.
Okay. Wow. That's incredible. What made you decide to do that?
I think it was basically a turning point. But when I mentioned I came out of rehab and I wasn't very well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at 2022 as a year that I had to really turn my life around. And when I did the 3 marathons in 4 weeks as a fundraiser, I was like,
Yeah.
fuck it, I've got to go bigger. And just, I'm the type of person when I think about that would be really cool to do, but maybe I'm not ready for it. I'm going for it. There won't be and maybe down the line, I'm going to do it. So I said on the 1st of January, I will run a marathon and then I will do it every week for the rest of the year. So yeah, I just went balls in with it.
I'll say that is just mind blowing to me because of the other things I know that you've done. I'm like, okay, so wait a minute. So you ran a marathon a week in 2022 and then you ran across the Sahara Desert at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, where does that come in? When did you do that?
That was April last year. So April 2024.
2024. Now, is that the Marathon des Sables? Is that the same?
Correct. Yeah. So it's 252 kilometers, Marathon des Sables, world renowned for being the hardest foot race on the planet. Again, one of those things that I watched a documentary on during COVID and thought further down the line.
You were like, why not?
But in all seriousness, like just for anybody listening, with that, during 2023, I put in a lot of work. I targeted a few races and not just going all out like 2022. I got my PB down quite a lot. My mileage in training upped quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I had a coach. I worked with a nutritionist. I took more of my recovery more seriously. My diet, the liquids. I started to piece it all together and do it properly.
Yeah.
So when I booked on to do that, it was that there was actually like some process behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'd been a road runner for all of that time, and that was going into a completely hostile environment for the very first time.
Yeah. So how did you end up finding a coach? And did you end up in this? Did you find a community at all, like a running club or anything like that you're a part of?
Yeah, so I got my coach halfway through doing the marathon a year. So we started working together, and he's unbelievable. Like, he's still my coach now. And I
Okay.
love him. He's a great guy, unbelievable athlete, he's a very good person. He's understands my goals and where I want to get to and what I'm capable of. That's very important as well.
So you started working with him. Did you also separately worked with a nutritionist as a separate person?
Yeah.
And
so
I still haven't done that. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, so my diet was crap, to be quite honest, because you don't know what you don't know, right? So
It's true.
you have to learn it. And the thing is, with the volume of training, it's not just about carb loading before a race. It's, even when you do a carb load for the first time, you think it's just the day before. It's not. It's the week before.
I know. I learned that recently. Yeah. Who knew? I'm like you. Like, I had a bowl of pasta. I'm great. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait.
Yeah. So I don't work with her full time. I worked with her before Marathon Descent because my mileage in training had to be around anywhere between 100k to 100 miles, 160k a week. So I had to make sure I was eating, and I don't find eating a lot of stuff. I'm quite a skinny person.
Yeah.
So me eating 5 meals a day is completely unrealistic. So we have like 3 meals a day and some snacks in between.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the liquids is actually really easy to do when you get the hang of it. It's basic. It's like electrolytes, protein shakes after heavy workouts. That part isn't complex. But it was mainly just to fuel the level of intensity.
Yeah. And so there's so many different races that you've done in there too. Cause I want to talk about running across the desert too. But in 2022, what were the 4 races you did that you mentioned that were the races you signed up for that year?
Yeah. So one was called Brighton, which is like it's a seafront. It's very windy, quite a hilly marathon, but very well supported. It's not one of the world majors by any stretch, but it's an incredibly supported UK event, probably similar to what one of your state marathons would be in the US. One called Manchester, which is very similar. London, which is obviously one of the world majors, and I did one at a race course, which I did a massive PB at right at the end of the 2022.
Okay.
It was 11 laps round a racetrack, and that was like the first time I'd done a laps marathon, and it was mind-numbing.
I'll say mind-numbing, 11 laps. But man, and your PB is 3 hours and 34 seconds. 34? Yeah. Yeah, that's
I couldn't get the sprint finish out.
Dude. Yeah. Gosh, 11 laps. That's wild. Okay. So the first 3 you mentioned were the 3 that you did in 4 weeks. And so those were earlier on in the year. And then you also did the lapped marathon around a racetrack. What kind of racetrack? Was it like pavement, like a car racing or horse racing or
tarmac? So it's not like a Formula 1 track, but it's a proper racetrack in cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, about a 4-kilometer loop.
Okay. Yeah. So we have one in Indianapolis. We have IndyCar and the Indianapolis 500. And so one of our biggest races is the Indy Mini, and that you run around the speedway. Thankfully, just 1 lap, but it's still, because it's part of the track. So it's 2.5 miles, maybe, I think. Yeah. Which is, I don't know how to do kilometers. What, 5K is 3 miles. So it's, probably like 3 or 4K. And so it's like the hardest part of the whole race, because you watch the cars drive around it and it takes them like a split second, and then you get on it to run around it and you're like, Jesus, when does this end? So I cannot imagine doing that for a full marathon, like just lap after lap after lap. Was it like slanted at all, or was it flat?
So I know the Indy.
Ours is banked.
So I know what you're on about.
Yeah.
So this is more like a big loop, and it's just more up and down. The turns are a bit smoother.
Okay. Yeah, that's still nuts. But clearly you liked something about it because you ran fast, or your fastest.
I did 3:26 there, which was a massive PB at that time. So my PB, I did it about 4 months ago. But I've done a few laps races since, and there's a lot of pros and cons about them in terms of
Mm-hmm.
it is quite boring, but you can process the distance a lot more. So I'm not totally against them. I find them quite hard, but for anybody out there, that's if you can dial yourself in and go, once I get to halfway, I've got 5 laps left. You can count them, you can box them off. Yeah, that's
Right.
the benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. And knowing exactly what to expect. Every lap, you
Yeah.
know where
Like
everything
where the
is.
drink station is.
Yep.
Very easy to process things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So 2022 was nuts. Then what'd you do in 2023?
Just targeted some of the bigger races. So I did London, New York, and Berlin.
Oh, yeah.
So three of the majors. That was really cool doing.
That's so
doing
cool.
those.
How did you get in to all of those that year?
London for charity,
Mm.
Berlin and New York through a tour operator.
There you go. Yeah. I feel like if I'm ever going to come to London or do Berlin, I'm going to have to just, find a company to go with to do it.
Yeah. It's the easiest, it's the most straightforward way to do it. It's very
Yeah.
stressful otherwise.
I just don't think I'm that lucky when it comes to the lotteries. So
No.
I did Chicago many times before they even had a lottery. And then I think the only time I did the lottery was like the last year I ran it, and I did get in. And then now I've tried a couple times since and haven't had any luck. So I'm like, if I want to go back, I'll just run for charity or do something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you have plans to do the other? Which ones are we missing? Boston, Chicago, and Tokyo.
Yeah, Boston, Chicago, Tokyo. Do you know what, Ali? If you'd have asked me this maybe 18 months ago, my goal would have been to get the 6 stars. And now, because of how other things have, like the ultra side of it,
Yes.
If I get the chance to go and do them, I'll go and do them. And just like I did when I went and did New York, I couldn't have given a fuck about the time that I ran. I just went and enjoyed it.
The best.
And I would take exactly the same approach and just get them done and enjoy the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to do them, but it's not a priority at the minute.
Yeah. Yeah. I keep saying that there's so many races out there. And so, yes, I've done New York and Chicago. That leaves quite a lot left, right? So that'd be cool, but there's so many places in the world that I want to see. And getting to see somewhere through a race would be so cool. There's just a lot out there. And especially when it comes to the ultra world for you. So you did London, New York, Berlin. Any specific stories within those races? We could spend an hour and a half talking about each one of those races. So it's so hard for me to be like, what do I want you to share? But anything from those, 3 majors in a year is insane as well.
Yeah. Berlin was my favorite because it was the flattest. It was so flat.
I've heard that.
Probably the same what Chicago is. Right? London was my home race. Amazing. New York, just an absolute vibe.
Yeah, New York is incredible. I did it in 2018.
Wild crap.
Yeah, nothing like it. How was the weather in 2023? I don't remember.
Sunny.
Yeah. Was it hot or no?
Not really hot. No, it was quite cold because I stayed in near Times Square. So it took 5 hours from waking up to get into Staten Island.
Yep. Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did the race in 3 hours and 20 minutes. So it took me long to get to the start to do the race.
Yeah, that's what I tell people because it was the same for me. And it took me 5 hours to get to the start. We stayed in Long Island City. And I just say that I don't know where the hell it is. And that's where we were. And then we took a train to get to the bus to get to the island. And yeah, it took 5 hours. And I ran it in 4.5 hours. But it's still, I ran it faster than it took me to get to the starting line. So I tell people it's an amazing experience and people want to do it year after year. For me, I'm like, I think that I'm good. It's a lot. I am so spoiled though. Our Indianapolis race, I'll plug again for you to convince you to come here. It's like you just literally can walk out of your hotel room and you're at the starting line. It's insane. Yeah. And it's an amazing race, like 15,000 people, but the logistics are just so nice. Anyway, yeah. So Berlin was the flattest. They have the funny thing about Berlin, I've heard, is like the plastic cups and the rollerblading. 2 things that are just to me fascinating about Berlin. You remember the plastic cups?
Like in the race?
Yeah.
Oh God, I honestly can't remember.
Wow. See, that I would remember because that would throw me off. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't pinch it to drink out of it. But that was one thing people told me.
So in the US, you have more bottles?
We have paper cups.
Oh, right, okay. I can't remember.
Is it common in the UK to have plastic cups, or are you paper? Or do you just not even think about it?
I've never ever noticed. I can't lie. I just know that cups are really annoying because you end up spilling half.
No matter what, really. Yeah, the paper ones are ideal because at least you can pinch them to get a better way to drink it versus I can't imagine trying to drink out of a plastic cup that I can't bend. I would choke on half of it. I mean, I still do, even though I pinch it sometimes. But anyway. And then the rollerblading to me is so interesting. Did you watch that the day before? I think it takes place the day before.
I was too busy eating carbs, watching Netflix, and trying.
That's
to get
fair.
myself off my feet.
Yeah, that's smart.
So I went on my own as well. So I'm quite if I'm going on my own and prepping for a race, I'm going to the expo and then I'm going to stay in my room all day other than getting food.
Yeah. Did you eat soft pretzels to carb load? Because that's what I would have done, just all of them.
I was strictly pasta and pizza.
Yeah, still good. Okay, and then comes 2024. So at what point did ultras get on your radar? This episode is also brought to you by Previnex. Previnex offers clinically effective supplements that promote longevity, performance, and everyday health. I'm so lucky to be working with Previnex. I've been taking their products since January. What I loved the most was that their founder, David Block, well, he's local, so I've met him twice, but he said, here, try the product and let's not do anything until after you've tried it for 30 days. Give me your feedback, then we'll talk. And I really liked that approach, first of all, because I feel like there's a lot of shady brands out there in this space. And so I gave it a shot. I tried the Gut and Greens Superfood to replace my other greens brand that I'd been using. The taste is pretty darn good for a green, and I've noticed a difference in my energy. So the reasons you would take a green are 1, for micronutrients and antioxidants, 2, for gut health benefits, so like digestion, regularity, and then anti-aging benefits. So some of that is where the natural energy kicks in. And I've said this before that I feel like I don't crave coffee quite as much. So I still have coffee, but usually it's after my greens, and it's really had me feeling great. So I take a slew of other products in the Previnex product line, but the Gut and Greens Superfood is one that's really low-hanging fruit for you, especially if you're already using a different brand. You can upgrade your greens and spend less than you're probably spending now as well. And you can use code ALLY15, ALLY 15, at checkout. That is ALLY15 at Previnex.com, Previnex.com. And Previnex is also a sponsor of our upcoming event. Thank you so much to them for supporting this podcast. And last, but definitely not least, because it is my most favorite running fuel, this episode is brought to you by Pure Fuel. Pure Fuel is made by Anderson's Maple Syrup, a company that has been making maple syrup for families for almost 100 years. And this product, Pure Fuel, is essentially just organic pure maple syrup packaged in a way that runners can use it, or really any athlete can use it to fuel on the go. And their creator, Christine Anderson, was on this podcast, episode 98. So if you want to hear more about her and the story behind Pure Fuel, you should definitely check that out. But I use this during all of my races, during my training. It goes down really nice because it's a little bit more fluid than a typical gel, and oddly enough, syrup is really refreshing on the run, and it has all the carbs, sugar you need, and it naturally has antioxidants and electrolytes. If you would like to try Pure Fuel, you can buy it on Amazon. It's probably the easiest way to find it, but you can also go to andersonsmaplesyrup.com, click shop, go to Pure Fuel, and you can use code FUEL20 at checkout to save 20%. Do me a favor, go try it, tell me what you think, but it is absolutely perfect, and you can take it from waffles to workouts. So that's right, you can just use it on your waffles too. It is the same exact syrup that they sell in grocery stores nationwide. So thank you so much, Pure Fuel, for being my favorite fuel and for supporting this podcast. Okay, and then comes 2024. So at what point did ultras get on your radar? Were you like, okay, like marathons are really cool, but you said you did a 50K. Did you do that during COVID, like on your own?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I didn't really have any specific build up. Like, you should have a build up in these types of things, because it's not just distance. You're going into different environments which come with a lot of challenges that require a lot of consideration with training.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because my mileage during training had been quite high, my endurance had increased quite a lot. So I just dove straight in at the deep end with that.
And so what did that look like?
Where do you want to start? Do you want
I
me
know,
to
I don't
explain a little
know.
bit about the race?
Yeah. So what time of year is Marathon des Sables? And I feel like I can't say it. Sable. You say it like without the S.
Marathon des Sables. So without
Saab.
yeah.
So like this car, almost like Saab.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do
So
that.
when I first
I
heard
just
it,
feel like
I
an
thought
idiot
it
when
was
I
a
say it.
marathon. I thought it was Marathon des Stables.
That's what it looks
Don't
like,
worry.
right? I'm from Indiana. I'm going to be like, the Marathon Days Sables. Yeah, okay.
So I can tell you about the race. So it takes place in April. So it's
Okay.
held in Morocco.
God.
So that's the part of the Sahara in Morocco. It's a week-long stage race. So 252 kilometers overall, split into 6 stages. So you arrive in Morocco, you get on a coach with everybody, and you drive 6 hours out into the middle of nowhere. It's about anywhere between 35 to 50 degrees Celsius. So it's very, very, very hot. There's no hiding place in the Sahara. It's very open. And it's a self-sufficient race, which means that you have a backpack and everything that you have for the week is in that, other than a tent and water, which is replenished in your water bottles. So you have to be very specific with your food, your diet, all of the mandatory equipment you have to be allowed into the race. And every stage there's a start and finish line. So the race went 30k stage 1, 40k, 85k, 40k, 30k, 20k. So it went like a pyramid in terms of distance.
And you know what? Now that you're describing this, I'm pretty sure I watched a documentary on one of my favorite Peloton instructors, Susie Chan, did the race. When did she do that? She didn't do it last year. It must have been the year before or something. Do you know who I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay. You should watch this. Okay. I'm going to send you that. She's amazing.
Cool.
Because she's done that. Now I'm like picturing her talking about it. Because she did Badwater here in the US too. And so it was all these ultras that she's done. And she has a book and whatever. Okay. So the stages, you're carrying everything. How did you even figure out what to carry and like how to be efficient with that? Did you lean on other people who had done the race, or do they tell you like, here's what you need to think about?
Yeah, there's a couple of different points, right? So I stumbled on somebody I knew who did the race 10 years ago.
Okay.
He came 11th in it.
Jeez.
Which is unbelievable. There's about 1,000 people in the race. You've probably got half the people there are serious runners competing, and then half the field are there to just walk, jog,
Get it
just get
done.
It done.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of regulations with the race in terms of how many calories you have to have per day and all of the mandatory equipment. And then you have to basically go through that and go, how many calories do I actually need? Versus the minimum requirement, do I need more? But also with the other items you need, which there's a lot of, what's the trade-off between getting the lightest shit possible to get the light?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a few different approaches. You either go for comfort in terms of taking a mat to sleep on at night, a pillow, extra food, things to clean with, spare clothes, or you go down the other route. You want pure performance and to be as light as fuck, which is a nomad, really trading off with the food, calories versus weight, sacrifice all the hygiene. So, no washing the same pair of clothes for a week. And I went completely in with that. And he helped me to really go through my kit and be absolutely ruthless with it. And go, you don't need that. You don't need that. Get that out. That needs to be changed. And I went from being this, but I need that, I need this, to get fucking hell, we need to go. What we're telling me.
That'd be so hard. Yeah, I picture myself as like when I pack for a race, I'll stay downtown Indianapolis, which is like 30 minutes from my house. And I will overpack the hell out of my suitcase with all the stuff that I feel like I need, that I never need all of. Yeah. I feel like it'd be so hard to go from, it's almost like the comfort blankets that you have, like all the things that you just like feel like you need, to really the bare bones of it. So if you didn't have a mat or a pillow, what do you sleep on?
So you get you're basically in tents of 8, but the tents are just a black rug in the middle of the Sahara, and you just on the floor. That's literally it. So I would just sleep in a sleeping bag on the sand and the rocks. It was so uncomfortable. Right, no matter how tired you were from the run, I slept like shit the whole week because you're around people snoring. You can't get sleeping with your rucksack as a pillow.
Yeah.
That's why the race is hard. It's not the distance or how,
Right.
hostile the temperature. It's because you're carrying a lot of weight as well.
Mm-hmm.
You're running through sand dunes, which takes so much energy to really move through.
Yeah.
But also the conditions, like there's no respite.
Yeah, there's no shade. You're not like, oh, I'm gonna get some
Yeah.
shade at some point. How did you end up? Do you have to qualify or anything to get into this race? Like, do you have to prove that you can survive? I feel like some of those races are like, we don't take just anybody. We need somebody that we know is
Yeah.
capable. What did that look like for this one?
So for MDS, no, you had to have a lot of health checks. You had to prove that you were healthy, but that was as far as it went. Some of the races I do now, you have to have enough ranking points, which is a build up of doing certain disciplines in certain environments. But for MDS, there's nothing stopping my mum or dad going and doing it. But if they give an ECG that is irregular, they're not going to let them race. And also, you're very, very regulated by medics during the race. So if you're in a bit of trouble, they will try and help you, but they don't withdraw you because it's a big commitment doing that race. But at the same time, I knew people that got withdrawn not by their choice because they've seen enough of the risks and what can happen if it goes wrong.
Jeez. And you came in top 50.
Yeah. I came 47th, which was, there was 30 elites in the race. Like I say, probably about 500 really good runners. And I managed to rob a top 50 finish.
Jeez. I mean, all of this, it seems, I can't really wrap my head around it. How did you have enough water even to carry enough water to run at those temperatures for that distance? Did they have filling stations for your water as you went?
Yeah.
And what was the longest stretch you would go without any sort of aid?
So you have to have 2 bottles which carry 1.5 liters. So
Okay.
you have to have that to be allowed to race. And then there's probably water stations every 15K. So you get the opportunity. They also will tip cold water on your head as well.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah. For 2 minutes before you get roasted.
Yeah.
The longest stretch I went, so on the 85K stage, I think at about 60K, we were in the midday sun, which is nothing I'd felt before. But I was about 5K away from an aid station and I ran out of water. And I just remember it's the only time I've ever hit a point of exhaustion where I was so dehydrated that I got to within like 400 meters and I was helped to the station because I couldn't really walk straight. And then as soon as I took on board some fluid, it was fine. But just to give you some context about how hot it is and how much you sweat, that 85K stage took me 12 hours. I drank probably 24 liters of water and I had 2 pisses.
Yeah.
Like 2. And normally at home, if I drink a glass of electrolytes, I'm up
Right.
and down to the toilet.
Jeez. That's nuts. And what did you eat? What did you fuel with?
Got these specialists, trying to think the best way to put it. They were like packets of dry food. So for breakfast, it might be a porridge with berries. And then for dinner, it's things like spaghetti bolognese, Thai green curry, banana. But that sounds lovely. It was just a packet of foods that you tip hot water in and mix it up.
Yeah.
They were horrific. Because I sacrificed on things like the things to heat the water up with, charcoal, didn't take any of that because it was extra weight. So we'd be having cold porridge at 6 a.m. before a stage.
Yeah.
And a carbohydrate drink, which tastes horrific on a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough, really rough.
Yeah, that sounds gross. And so you literally didn't rinse off at all? Outside of like people dumping the water in your head, you're like, did you have one change of clothes or no? You literally wore the same outfit, same underwear the whole time?
Yeah.
God,
Honestly, there's one
gross.
pair of every.
Mm,
I know.
mm.
I know.
This is the only, like, the closest thing I get, which is laughable, is I've done a Ragnar. I did one last fall.
Yeah.
And we didn't shower. We just wiped ourselves off with like wipes. But we got to change. I changed. But I didn't shower for the whole weekend. And that felt gross. And like the idea that you're just like constantly sweating. Yeah. That's,
It's not that. It's the sand as well. Like
oh
you're
God, the sand. You had to sleep covered in sand.
yeah. Like when we got back to the hotel, like when you get seen, and the other thing is that I have I don't really grow facial hair, so very well. So when I
Yeah.
don't shave for a week, I have this really dodgy touch, and I just looked a complete state.
Oh, that's a good look. That's,
Yeah, like lips burnt as well.
yeah. I was
Like,
going to ask
just
about
look.
sunscreen. Do you put sunscreen on? You had to have sunscreen, right?
Yeah, that was a mandatory. You had to have at least 50 milliliters
Yeah.
of sunscreen. So you just factor 50 really strong, few sprays on the arms. In terms of headwear, you're wearing a cap either backwards or with a
Mm-hmm.
thing that comes down back.
Yes. Did you wear that at all times or just some of the time?
Yeah.
That's nuts. What an insane experience to have done that. I mean,
Incredible.
it's absolutely incredible. And so
Yeah.
what was the finish line experience like? Because I feel like people who are road runners, right? You picture the New York City Marathon finish. It's insane. But then these races are different. It's a different environment that you're in. What was that like?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's quite, you go through the range of emotions because it's a stage race. Like you go through a finish line every stage. So try and picture this in the Sahara Desert. If you Google it, like just pictures of it, and like the finish line by a huge camp with music blaring, somebody emceeing, like you're getting welcomed in by the medics and the support staff, and it's incredible. But the first few felt great because you're setting it, got a lot of energy. And I remember that there's a video of me on the long stage coming across the finish line, and I was just exhausted. It was at night. We ran into the night.
Oh, right.
And then from that point, it turned for me in terms of I cried on the second to last stage because I think I processed it. And I was like, I've got 21K to do. I was, I think, 45th in the race going into the last day. I was like, I know who I'm racing because there's a leaderboard, who's who. So I was like, I've got chunks of time on them, or I'm not going to overtake them, and they're not going to overtake me. I've just got to make sure I stay within a decent range.
Yeah.
And then the last day, I didn't even enjoy it because I think I'd already just mentally broken down with not happiness, just pure emotion of like, it's been pretty brutal. I remember the position I'd come from a few years ago, just thinking about everybody at home because you don't speak to them. You can send them videos from a little hut. But yeah, so a lot of different emotions go through you.
Yeah. Are people able to track you from home? Could they see that you've
Yes.
made it to the next stage? And the stages, you have to make it within a certain cutoff for each stage.
Right.
And that's
Yeah,
why
for
they
sure.
do that, to just make sure people can, if it's one big stage, then it just helps keep everybody moving.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So how long did it take you?
Overall, so I think I did 31 hours and 50 minutes with my cumulative time over the 250K.
Wow. The mental side of it. Can we talk about that for a second? Like, how do you, because you're not listening to music, I would imagine, in the Sahara Desert, because you're probably not allowed. How do you mentally train yourself for something like that?
Yeah, I think for me, like during the training process, like you do a lot of mileage on your own, building up, doing 100K to 160K a week on your own. That takes a lot of commitment in and around work, other things.
Yeah, work,
And
right.
also, yeah, I know. And then also doing the environmental training. So I trained in a heat chamber, which is like
Oh,
a
you
45
did?
degree, yes, to acclimatize the body. So that is mental training because that is doing an hour in a little room with a treadmill where there's no escape from, you're just sweating your absolute nuts off. But all of those little things start to formulate the mental, you're building up. And also people talking, running about their why and the reasons why you're doing it. And for me, a lot of that comes from within. At the same time, I think with long distance running, you have to be mentally strong, but I don't think there's a blueprint to it. because it sounds stupid saying it, but you're out there for a long time. If you just start running on adrenaline for 5 minutes, like that wears off. And so you have to try and keep yourself as level as you can over that time.
Mm.
And naturally you will fluctuate. But if you just try and keep centered, and I think for me, that was as much as I could do. And just thinking how I'm running across the Sahara Desert. And 4 years ago, I was in a rehabilitation center getting help with drug addiction.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. What an incredible difference. And okay, heat chamber. How do you do that? Do you like pay to go somewhere to like train? I don't even know where I could do that if I wanted to.
Yeah. So I went to there was a place in London, which is like a performance center.
Okay.
And for like my 2 week taper was basically spent doing an hour a day in the chamber, which adapts your body in terms of regulating your sweat more. But they'll be more in universities and colleges and places like that.
Interesting.
As opposed to there wasn't actually a lot of private places around here that did that.
Right. So at the performance center, so did you pay to like book it? Did you have to like schedule? That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So wild.
Yeah. So I think what happened, I had to book it like 6 months before because they get a lot of people doing the same thing. So I think it was like 700 quid for 10 hours as well. So it's like the whole thing cost me a fortune. Seriously.
Well, yeah, I bet. Yeah. Well, I think about now the seven marathons in 7 days on 7 continents that has been on my radar. It's in my feed, if you will. And it's like the cost of that's, I don't know, 40 grand or something. So you're like, yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. Okay. So I wish I would have, now that I'm thinking through this, I was like, I should have watched that Susie Chan documentary again before talking to you, because I know we're going to hang up and I'm be like, but how did he do this? But I mean, so you've also had a DNF at UTMB. Yeah. When was that? And tell people what UTMB is who aren't familiar at all with that.
Yeah. So that was in January. So
okay.
2 months ago. But just to tell people about UTMB, it's the biggest ultra running World Series across the globe. They do different distances. I think it's like 25K, 50K, 100K, 100 miles. And there's 40 races across the globe, and they're all in very different types of terrain, environments. They're not straightforward races. And then it accumulates with a world final in Mont Blanc.
Okay.
That's 10,000 meters in elevation that you run, but also it's 3,000 feet above sea level.
Oh my God.
Close to 50% less oxygen. So it's things like that. The one I did in January was round a coastal path in the southeast of England. And that was more challenging because it was basically mud and standing water above your ankles, a lot of rock climbs. And I didn't have enough experience, is the best way to put it.
Wow. I didn't realize there were 40 of them, actually. I always pictured the Mont Blanc. That's like the one that I've seen.
Everybody does, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was. I thought that's UTMB. Like, I didn't realize there were 40 of them, like different ones throughout. Are there some in the United States?
Yeah, I don't know the global scene well enough, but they're spread about different countries. But the one in Mont Blanc is the world final, which you basically have to accumulate certain requirements to be able to then go and that is the Super Bowl of ultra running. Best way.
Yeah. It looks insane.
Yeah, crazy.
Okay, so the one you did, how many miles in did you make it?
I got to 84K, which is just over 50 miles. And then I was at a checkpoint and pretty banged up. I had some problems with my feet, big toenails came off, had to be pulled off. And yeah, I tried to head out and had to make a really tough decision. I was in quite a lot of pain, no excuses. My experience led to that happening. That wasn't a fluke injury, because things that I've learned now, which will hopefully prevent that from happening again.
Was it things like, I don't know, what did you learn and what will you do differently?
Yes, and there's a couple of things. There is, for that specific race, I'd run on, like, in England at this time of year, it's probably similar to you. It's like really cold, really wet, really damp. So running the trails where I live, which I did in preparation, is very different to what that was like. I might have run at 50% hard trails. That was 150% hard trails. Yeah. Really difficult. So going a bit further in terms of the types of terrain I run in, underfoot to get that experience. And then the other thing is, I didn't withdraw for this, but one of the things that I've learned doing these things is you do have to be prepared to walk quite a lot. There's a really steep elevation. There's a lot of rock climbs that not even elites or professionals are going to run, which you struggle to build up a lot of momentum when you do that. On a road, you're like, bang, straight ahead.
Right.
Whereas with this, it's very, very technical. You're navigating a lot. You maybe run for 100 meters and then you encounter another obstacle. So I think for me, like, it's just, again, like developing my mental game. So,
Jeez. Yeah. That's still an incredible achievement. Like getting there, doing that. Did you have to qualify or anything for that?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was for their 100 milers. So I think, I'm not an expert, but I think for the other distances, you could just do those. You could sign up.
Okay.
You then have to have the check-ins the day before, so technical medical checks. But then for the 100 milers, you have to have a certain number of ranking points, which is based on previous races to be able to do that. But
Okay.
luckily, I don't lose any of that. So next year I'll go again.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you the end of the podcast questions just so we can talk about what's next, because that's one of my questions anyway.
Cool.
I could talk to you all day and all evening for you. And then we have to talk about Bobby. Don't let me get off this without talking about Bobby. Okay. What is your favorite running mantra and or song?
My song choice is horrific. I won't even go into that. I don't really have a mantra other than consistency. If you do this long term, consistency will get you on that upward trajectory. I think you have to face the good and the bad. And like for me, I'll always be proud of for how I deal with the adversity and the tough moments, like I have had to in UTMB, because that's what fuels me personally. And I just think things go wrong during races. Like, just realize it happens to everybody. You know, that's how you learn. Nobody gets it first time, and you will become stronger for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And then, okay, what's next? Next finish line or milestone? Obviously, there's milestones associated with sobriety too. When will your 4 years be? What's your
January
date?
the 3rd.
Okay.
January the 3rd.
Okay.
I expect a present from.
Yeah, it's okay. Each year, I'm just going to send you some random mug that I make or something. I know. But it's such a big deal. You should get like a freaking trophy. And then, so next finish lines. So now what? I mean, Chris, this is insane. So people who listen to this, it's a wide variety. There's ultra runners who listen to this. I would say a lot of people are probably like me, like dabble in the marathon, road runner. So like all of this is mind blowing to me. I'm just like partially in shock. So what the heck are you going to do now to keep topping like what you've done? It's incredible. So what's going on now? What are you doing?
So I've had to replan my whole year after, because I had another UTMB race in May and then another 100 miler in September, which again are in row, very elevated, very off-road environments. So I made a decision after January, and this is quite difficult for me to do, but like I just said, fuck it, I'm not doing that. And I'm going to use this year and build myself up. I've got a couple of 50k races locally, which won't be that hard in terms of terrain. And then I've got 2 100k races later in the year, which one shouldn't be too bad, but one is quite row. And then that'll build me back up to next January. So I basically had to push everything I want to do back a year and just rebuild a bit. And I think that's okay. Yeah.
I also think it sounds responsible and smart going through injury and stuff that you're learning a ton. You're like, okay, if I just push, I mean, what's a year, build it up and then get after it. So did you just get to defer those other 2 races that you had on the books for this year?
No, I've not. Like, one of them, I managed to, the 100k I'm doing later in the year, which is going to be quite tough. That was the same company that do the 100 mile, and so I was able to drop down. But the one with UTMB, like I spent 300 quid on an entry, you don't get the money back for it.
Yeah.
So, cheers.
Close another deal or whatever it is that for work that you do. How do you balance? We didn't really even talk about career a ton, but like in tech and in sales, do you work at home and fit in your training just around your schedule?
Yeah. So I'm quite lucky in that regard, where I go into London a lot for meetings, face-to-face stuff, but based at home normally, and then I can plan my training around that. And I think it's
nice.
just discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I'm very committed to this sport and just I don't want to look back with any regrets. And as hard as it is at times, we'll just make sure, I go out. If I need to do 20K a day, I do 10K at lunch, 10K after work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wild. Okay. And then, one more question before Bobby. London. We need to talk about London again. For anybody who is currently training, what words of wisdom do you have for them coming? Or like, where are there any you must go here, must do this while you're here, advice that you have?
Yeah, great question. There's a lot to see in London. It's a great place. I'd stay away from the bad parts because there are some, but enjoy the food. There's some great places. I think if you're coming for the marathon, just at London, there's 3 different start lines before it merges into, probably takes about 5K before it merges. So those start lines can be quite quiet, but as you then get into London, like shit's good. Crazy.
So you're not running this year. Will you go spectate?
I'm going to watch it on TV. I'm going to put my feet up.
Good luck, everybody.
I know some people racing, but I want to watch the elite race for the first time in years because
that'd be fun. Yeah.
Marathon des Sables was on at the same time last year, so I haven't watched it for 5 years.
Yeah. Okay. And then Bobby is your dog, and so I need to know everything about Bobby. How old is Bobby? What kind of dog is Bobby? How did you get the name Bobby?
Do you want me to go and get him?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
I have my dog here too.
I might not be successful, but I'll try.
Doug, come here. Come here. You want to see? Come here. You got to see the dog. Oh,
I've managed to bribe him.
Oh, he snuck in. I couldn't see him running. Oh, there's my man.
Oh,
that's my dude.
Is it he?
Yeah, Doug the dog. D-U-G.
Doug, love that.
Okay. Oh, hi, Bobby.
You're going to be on a podcast.
I don't care, but I'm so cute. Okay, so how old is he?
He is 3.
3. Okay. And what kind of dog?
Cavapoo.
Oh, so cute. So you can't really run with him, or can you? A little bit.
No, he's got no stamina. No stamina whatsoever.
Oh, that's so funny. So he's 3. So you got him soon after you got sober then. Was that part of recovery a little bit for you?
I've never understood the love of dogs before I had one. And now, like, I'd literally anything for him. Yeah, I think I relapsed a few times when he was really young, and then that was it.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, my dog, he's a golden doodle, and he's 11, almost 11. He'll be 11 in exactly a month, actually. So he's getting old, but he'll still run with me. I had to get him boots to wear because his paw pads started wearing out faster. But yeah, I don't know. I swear he's just going to live forever. That's what I hope.
Have you been buying him a pair of Alpha Flies to run it?
Right. Can you imagine? No. He's like ridiculous Velcro booties that he absolutely hates. And he like walks, like we put him on and he's like walking, like picking his legs up. What in the world did you do to me? Yeah. But I can't even say the word RUN. Like he'll go nuts, like knowing that could be a possibility. So I can't get him excited about that. Oh, well, he's so cute. I saw pictures of him, so I had to ask. And I love the name Bobby. What made you name him Bobby?
He's actually my mum and dad's dog, so I didn't get a choice.
Oh, so they named him. Oh, it's pretty cute.
After the soccer team we support at home.
So okay.
One of their favorite managers of the team was called Bobby.
It's perfect. It's such a great. I love human names for animals so much, and that one's pretty good. Bobby. Oh, hey, Bobby. Oh my gosh. See you later. I love you too. That's so funny that he just growled. It's the best. Thank you again so much for doing this, Chris. I can't wait now to follow your journey. Tell people your Instagram.
It's at Chris Slater with 3 R's at the end.
3 R's at the end. I love it. Thanks for doing this. It's been so much fun.
Thank you for having me, Ali. It's been lovely to speak to you. I look forward to following your running journeys.
Thank you. I'm trying to keep at it. And if you come to the States sometime, you've been to Boston, I saw, not for the marathon, and you've been to New York. Have you been to the States otherwise?
Just Florida.
Florida.
I was very young.
Okay.
Theme parks. Yeah. I think Chicago, I'd love to go and do Chicago at some point. And then also.
See, if you did Chicago, you should. And then we're 3 hours south by car or like a 1 hour flight. And our marathon is usually, it's like a month after. So you'd have to spend a month, but you know, if you could work from anywhere. Anyway, all right, I could talk to you all day. Thank you, Chris, and thank you to everybody who has listened, and happy running. If you enjoyed this episode of the Finish Lines and Milestones podcast from Sandy Boy Productions, please go share, rate, review. It takes just a second. It means so much. Also, you can find me on Instagram. I'm Allie, Alloy, T as in Tango, Brett, BRETT, _runs. Allie T Brett _runs. And we can be friends. I'm trying harder there too with, the whole video thing. Anyways, thank you so much to the sponsors, Bitch Sticks, Pure Fuel, Previnex, and then also wanted to shout out my running partner, Becky Riley, who listens to this podcast. That's how we met. She got a personal best at the Sam Costa half marathon here recently, as did a bunch of my other friends. I'll forget somebody if I start listing them. And she also got a personal best in the 5K recently too, that I forgot to congratulate her about, and got a second place finish there too. So podium finish. So proud of you, Becky. And thank you everybody for listening and for your support. Okay, I will talk to you next week. Bye.